you like listening to podcasts as much as we do, you may want to listen to us while you're working out or going for a run or doing a number of other things. Maybe you're grocery shopping, or maybe you listen to us while you're supposed to be working. Whatever it is, if you want to add a beat in the background for some extra motivation, you should check out this new app called Podbeat.
Podbeat is a free mobile app that lets you add any beat style to any podcast for your workout. It's easy to use and free to download in the App Store. Sometimes podcasts may lose your attention because you're just listening to someone talk. With Podbeat, podcasts are a lot more fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the other thing that I really like about Podbeat is that you can choose from a bunch of different beats. So it's not like you're listening to the same thing over and over. There are a ton of options. Some that I prefer myself. I really like the funk beat, which you can hear in the background right now. And another one that's one of my favorites is the trap beat.
I agree. I love the trap beat as well. I also really like that for each beat I pick, I can change the treble, the BPM, the volume, and the bass levels. I'm like my own DJ. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check out Podbeat in the App Store or also on Google Play Store for Android users. Okay, on to the show. Welcome back to Rewind Rewatch. This is Andreen.
And I'm Joel.
And we're siblings that are we're rewatching 90s movies.
You're listening to us.
Yes.
Right now.
So we're going to be rewatching 90s movies and then basically discussing them to see how well they aged. At the end of each episode, we basically will give it a rating, 1 out of 5 rewinds, basically to see whether or not they have the better rewatchability. Are they still funny? Did things age well? Were they never good at all? And basically, we're listening to you guys because we've been doing a lot of listener requests lately.
Oh, yeah. The listener requests have been rolling in, and we have been doing what you've asked.
Yeah, pretty much. So today, we will be discussing Forrest Gump. This is a 1994 film with a rating of PG-13, starring the great Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, our second Tom Hanks film so far in,
Yes.
what is this, 12 episodes?
Something like that, yeah.
13, I think this is number 13. So yeah, this is our second Tom Hanks film in addition to episode 1, where we did You've Got Mail.
I mean, has so many movies in the 90s. In 92, A League of Their Own, 93, Sleepless in Seattle, 93, Philadelphia, 95, Apollo 13, 95, Toy Story, 98, Saving Private Ryan, 98, You've Got Mail, 99, Toy Story 2, and then 99, The Green Mile.
Yeah.
So he's out here.
Yeah, he pretty much was the guy in the 90s. I don't know if there's an actor that really tops Tom Hanks in the 90s.
I don't think so.
We'll have to see as this podcast rolls along. We have been highlighting a number of heavy hitters. We've had a couple of Robin Williams movies. We did Julia Roberts a few weeks ago. So we'll have to see as the pod goes along who really seems to be running things. But as of right now, it does feel like Tom Hanks is that guy. And maybe Julia Roberts was the biggest actress of the 90s.
Yeah.
But TBD on that one as well.
TBD for sure. All right. So in this movie, like I said, Tom Hanks is clearly the biggest actor. But then after that, we have Sally Fields, who plays Forrest Gump's mom. Mm-hmm. Now, what's funny about this is for some reason, I thought her name was Sally Fields with an S.
Well. You did the black person tradition of adding an S on things that don't have an S, like Barnes and Nobles. So
and I just happened to be looking at some post somewhere else today on social media, and someone mentioned it's Sally Field, not Sally Fields, and I was like, wait, what?
It's a good thing you saw that post before we started recording. You would have said it wrong.
I definitely would have said Fields for sure, and I was like, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. But anyway, Sally Field, to be clear. And then, of course, we have, is it Gary Sinise? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep, Gary Sinise.
He plays Lieutenant Dan. His character, we'll talk about him later.
Lieutenant Dan.
He was great. And then, did you notice who played his son? Forrest Gump's son.
Oh.
Sorry, Forrest Gump's son.
Yes, I don't remember that kid's name.
Haley Joel
Oh, that's Haley Joel Osment.
Yes.
Okay.
Sixth Sense boy.
Yeah.
I see dead people.
I was like, this boy looks familiar, but I didn't put one and two together. I didn't realize that was the same kid.
I see dead people.
Yeah, so he shows up at the very end as the son. So the Jenny, who everybody knows, Robin Wright is not a character. It's not an actress that I know. I don't recall seeing her in other things.
Oh, you know Robin Wright.
From what?
Robin Wright plays the first lady on House of Cards. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
No, she looks different, obviously, because it's, many years earlier.
Oh, I'm seeing it now.
But yep, that's the same actress.
I'm done trying to win over people's hearts.
Let's attack their heart.
We can work with fear.
And I didn't realize
Holy
it
cow.
myself until, halfway through the movie. I think I was, looking at the cast list, and then I saw her name, and I'm like, oh, that's who that is?
No way.
So,
I
yeah.
definitely didn't catch that. So
And her hair is long.
Yes.
And her hair's short on House of Cards.
Yes,
And
she's much older, obviously.
25 years older, so, yeah. But that's Jenny.
okay. Well, since I'm leading the episode, am I giving the sentence or are you giving?
No, yeah, I think it's my turn.
Okay. So in one sentence, how would you sum up the movie Forrest Gump?
A simple Alabama man has serendipitous encounters with key moments of the 60s and 70s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
works. Although I think it starts in the early 50s at some point. I think that's kind of where it starts.
Yes.
So this is before
I think the
Elvis.
first big thing that he encounters is when they desegregate the schools.
Yeah.
So that would have been the late 50s, I
Yeah.
guess. And he plays at University of Alabama, and he plays under the famous coach Bear Bryant. So that would have been right at the end of the 50s, but a lot of the other activity or a lot of the other famous moments throughout the film are primarily 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I think I was just thinking about when it started was
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah,
early
yeah,
50s.
yeah,
when
yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
starting school and all that.
Yeah, when he's growing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's he doesn't really start encountering famous moments until he gets older.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's fair. All right, so the movie opens up. I'm gonna start from the top. And you see this, my very first thought is just random, but you see this feather floating around and it lands at his feet. He's sitting on a bench waiting for a bus. And my very first thought was, his sneakers are filthy.
Well, they
Did
were
you
filthy.
did you peep that?
Well, yeah, but we're going to find out later. And they give you a bunch of little early Easter eggs when he opens his suitcase.
Oh, yes.
Because all the things in the suitcase are basically the movie itself.
Yes.
Which you're not going to recognize any of them until after you've seen it.
Correct.
But
the Curious George book, man.
Curious George book, the Bubba Gump shrimp cap.
Yes.
His ping pong paddle.
It's all there. His
Yeah.
whole life is in that thing.
Yeah.
So of course he has, that famous quote, "The life is like a box of chocolate." That comes out early. I didn't realize that. For some reason, I thought it was later on in the film that it first comes out, but it's literally at the very beginning of the movie. He's talking to this black woman who's waiting on the bus. She obviously wants to read her magazine, and she's not trying to really listen to
she's
him.
not.
But he's basically starting to tell her his entire life story. And as he's telling the story, we're seeing it unfold on the screen. And so it starts off.
Hold on real quick before you get into this, because I
Yeah.
know we already finished talking about the cast. But I also wanted to point out the director. Robert Zemeckis is the director of this movie. Do you know what else he directed?
I do not.
He also directed, the biggest movie he directed all 3 Back to the Future movies.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
huge.
that was pretty big.
Huge.
But personally,
Your fave?
one of my faves that he directed, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yo, I remember you having the hots for
Jessica Rabbit?
Jessica Rabbit.
I mean, come on.
You loved her.
Let me tell you something, sister. Jessica Rabbit is a baddie, man.
That's bombshell, definition
Oh
of
my
bombshell.
goodness. You hear drums every time as she's walking. It's oh man. He also directed Castaway, so a little connection there with Tom Hanks.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Well, shout out to Robert Zemeckis, I guess.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. So we see Forrest Gump as a child, and we see that he has some issues with his legs, and he's talking about how his mom said that he had these magic shoes, and he basically has these braces on his legs. It seems like kind of like polio-esque. Like I wasn't quite sure what was going on there.
It was definitely giving polio vibes.
Right. They didn't really say what it was, but from the very beginning, they're kind of giving you these like throwbacks to history, right? Because he talks about how he was named after this general of this Ku Klux Klan, and he's like, they used to run around with these, these white sheets over their head. He's like, I'm not really quite sure why they were doing that. It's like he's a simpleton. We know from the very beginning. His IQ, I think, is 75. They were saying, and his IQ was so low that his mom was having a lot of trouble enrolling him in public school because the school was saying you need an IQ of at least 80 to get in. He's 5 points under. We're not letting him into the school. He has to go to a special school. And she's like, no, my boy deserves to go to school with everybody else. And so she's like, I mean, what can be done? It's just 5 measly points. Like, what can we do?
What could be done?
And when I tell you that mama loves her boy because
your mama really cares about your schooling, boy. That's what he said. He said, your mama really cares about your schooling. What a creep.
So mom brought the principal back to the house and, gave him the goods to get him into school. That's what she had to do.
And the principal was a moaner. He was.
Oh, my God.
You could hear him loudly from outside of the house. So he was not even trying to conceal his sex noises.
And then Forrest just imitates him on the way out. He's like, it was just very cringe, but it was also like, I mean, this is the early 50s. There's no man in the house. And she's like, what am I going to do? I got to get my boy into this school. So
we don't really know what happens to his dad other than the fact that his dad's gone.
Right.
So it's presumed that maybe his dad left them.
Or he passed.
Maybe he's dead. Yeah. They don't really explain it. But he doesn't really know what's going on.
Right.
And apparently he's never really asked about his father because when the principal makes a pass at the mom and basically says like, is there a Mr. Gump? Mm-hmm. And she says, he's not, he's away on vacation. Basically like the house is empty. You could come through.
Right.
But she doesn't necessarily say that he's single and that she's single. Mm-hmm. And Forrest doesn't know what vacation means. So he asks his mom about it later. Like, dad's on vacation. What does that mean? So
and she's like, they go away. They're never coming back.
Yeah, basically but that also makes me think that he, A, hadn't asked about his father before, or B, didn't know where his dad was.
Which is kind of weird.
Maybe he's either been gone for all of Forrest's life, or he died when Forrest was really young. Like, whatever the case is, he doesn't know.
He's not,
And I think a running theme of this movie is like the fact that he's simple and the fact that his IQ is lower than normal. Like, he doesn't understand fully like everything that's going on around him.
Right,
so like even the fact that like he's named after this Ku Klux Klan general, he doesn't really understand what the Ku Klux Klan is.
Yeah.
And then like we see this play out in a number of ways as the movie progresses, where it's like things are happening around him and he's like has a very narrow sense of it because he actually doesn't fully understand what's going on. And in a lot of ways that actually ends up being good for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, now he's gets into the school and his first day of school and, he has these braces on his legs until he gets onto the bus. And of course, kids are kids. They do not want him sitting next to them. So they're like, oh, this seat's taken. Sorry, can't sit here. Mm-hmm. And then there's one voice, this one girl who says, you can sit next to me. And that's when he meets Jenny. And they become the best of friends. They're together like peas and carrots. Mm-hmm. And the bullies keep picking on him relentlessly. I mean, from the time that he starts school up until he's a senior, basically. I mean, it never stops. And so
I thought that was odd. Because, like, when they're young, it makes sense. Okay, this kid's different. He walks with a leg brace. Like, kids in elementary school are going to make fun of you, especially if you're different. I feel like after going to school with him for the past 10 years or however long it was, like, y'all are 16, 17 years old still picking on him because he's different and because he has, like,
a low
mental
IQ
capacity. Like
Yeah.
it just felt like, why do y'all still care about this when you're now grown? I understand why you would do it when you're a 9-year-old, but
Right.
like y'all are 17 and you're still like, he's stupid, let's chase him.
Yeah.
Like, what? I didn't understand that.
Not to mention the fact that he's fast as hell. So it's like, you're never going to catch this guy. Because, like, when they were on
But why do you even care? Like,
No, I understand that. But it's like, they're just dumb. They're dumb bullies.
Yeah, of course,
that's
yeah.
all it is. But it's like, they were on bikes and he smoked them.
well, that's another
Like,
thing,
smoke
right?
them.
Like, he goes from like needing braces to walk to being the fastest kid in town.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah, it's just like, is this the Green Mile? Or like, there's no magical Negro that came and like healed him. I didn't know how that happened.
Jenny
And it's
just
never
said-
explained. It's just like
Jenny just said run, and he just started like at first he was like trying to run and he couldn't quite, and then all of a sudden he just like starts sprinting.
But then it's like, could he always run?
And-
And he just wasn't.
he didn't know.
He didn't know his own capabilities. He was too dumb to walk straight. Like, what was happening?
God.
And then he's like, wait a second.
This is what running is.
He's like, wait a second. I actually can walk straight.
And run.
Yeah. And he didn't even realize it himself. Wow.
What I found really interesting before he gets rid of the braces is when so basically he lives in this huge manor with his mom. This house has been in their family for generations. They have a huge estate, and essentially the mom will rent out different rooms in the home to people who are traveling, stopping by as a place. It's almost like a bed and breakfast, but like through his house.
It is that, basically.
And he basically, the first brush we see with a celebrity is that he says this young guy, he's there with the guitar, he's writing these songs with music, and he's like, he's trying to dance, but of course with his leg braces, he can't quite dance the way a quote unquote normal, able-bodied person would. And so he's doing these movements with his legs and he's jutting out his hips and doing all this stuff. And then basically it's Elvis who he's doing these moves for, and Elvis steals his moves and ends up becoming the sensation that he is.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
And he's dancing the way that, of course, Forrest Gump was dancing.
Taught him his signature move.
How to dance.
So I guess, I guess his first encounter was actually in the 50s.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun to watch that, because I was like, oh, this is... So like once you see that, you're like, oh, this is what this movie's going to do.
Yeah,
like, it's
this
going
is what
to
this
place
movie's
him in
going to do.
different areas, and like, it's funny. It's very entertaining. So he starts doing that, and then of course during school, he and Jenny are best friends, and we learn that Jenny's dad is...
A loving man.
He's... he loves a little bit too much.
That's what Forrest did.
Yeah, so...
Because, again, Forrest doesn't
He
understand.
doesn't understand. He's always putting his hands on Jenny and her sisters, and, he doesn't really get it. But, yeah, he's basically beating and molesting her. There's one scene you see, like, her dress is kind of torn up, and she and Forrest are basically hiding, like, in the cornfields to escape her dad, who's, of course, walking around with a bottle because, of course, he's a drunk. Because those go hand in hand. And you just feel... So, like, from this moment on, like, again, I saw this movie a long time ago. Let me start there. I was a child the last time I watched this movie. And so a lot of these things I didn't quite remember. Like, I remember people saying that, like, who's the villain of this movie? And it's like, Jenny's the villain. Like, that's what people say a lot of times. And getting to see the backgrounds, like, how she grew up, I was like, okay, a lot of her choices down the line kind of make sense as far as who she decides to date later on. And the way she lives her life, it makes sense because it's based in this trauma from her pops.
Yeah, it does. It definitely contextualizes her character a lot better, because that was also a detail that I had forgotten. And all I remembered was like, oh, she ends up like having sex with Forrest and she has HIV.
Bruh.
And that's like all I remembered about Jenny.
Right.
But then it's like, oh, nah, there's like way more to this character that I didn't remember. And then as I'm rewatching it, it's like, oh, okay, now everything makes a little bit more sense.
Right.
Because like she grew up in this crazy house where her dad was molesting her.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. So then they start to get a little bit older. Like, as you said, now you have these kids who are still 17 and 18 and chasing Forrest around. And basically, there's this one scene where he's running away from these guys in a car, and he cuts through this field and ends up by the football field. And he like, first of all, why he didn't run away from the field or like around the field? Of course, he's so simple. He didn't think about it. He runs directly onto the field in the middle of like their practice, and they're like, "Who's that guy?" Like he's running as fast as hell. And so of course he ends up playing. He gets a scholarship to play football in Alabama, and it's funny because they have these multiple scenes where he's running on the field. He scores a touchdown, but he just keeps running, and he's like,
because they just tell him run before it's run.
So
and
he's
then
like,
it's
oh, okay,
I just kept on running
and running, and it's like he doesn't understand. Like football is very confusing. He kept saying, like, I don't understand this game. Like I just run.
I mean, to be fair, football does have a lot of rules. It is kind of confusing.
I mean, I don't understand it at all. It's very clear.
Neither did Forrest, and he got a scholarship to play for Alabama. So.
So,
and became an All-American.
Did he? So then he ends up graduating college, and then he enrolls in the Army. And this...
So before that, as I said, he becomes an All-American, and that's the first time he gets to go to the White House.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So he meets JFK as an All-American. He also sees the University of Alabama get integrated. So a lot of people there, I mean, it's Alabama in the late 50s, so people are not happy about it.
Oh, man.
And so that's like his first kind of brush with fame is with Elvis. Then we see him meet JFK.
Yes.
And like you're kind of seeing them check off different aspects of like things that happened in the 60s. It goes into the 70s. But he's basically like touches everything. But one question I had was, how in the world did Forrest graduate from college?
Because he's an athlete.
Sure.
Hello?
Yeah, that's true.
They just pass him along.
Yeah.
Shout out to the athletes.
Yeah, shout out to the athletes. I mean, I know that's certainly what's happening nowadays. I didn't think that happened as much back then, but I
football,
guess...
it's America's sport.
Yeah, I guess it is football at Alabama.
You know how much money he was bringing in for that school?
Not as much as now. They didn't even have TV deals.
Well...
But sure, yeah, I guess he was definitely getting. I mean, for that matter, I'm not sure how he graduated any of the schools that he went to, because his first school that he goes to is the elementary school, and he doesn't even have the IQ to be there.
Yeah.
So presumably, there's really a question of how did he even get to high school. But I guess it is what it is. We'll
that's the teacher in you trying to figure out.
Yeah, this is like, how is this kid getting the grades?
grades.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm not quite sure, but somehow he gets out of there. And so, so before
he doesn't end up needing the degree anyway.
No.
I mean, life kind of works out for him, as we'll come to find out.
So, before he even makes it into the Army, there's this one part where he goes to visit Jenny at her school in undergrad. And he's waiting outside her door in the pouring rain, just sitting there, waiting for her to come home. And he sees that she's finishing up a date with some guy. They pull up in the car. They're making out. And I guess the guy accidentally, pushed up against her and her head hit the back of the window. It didn't seem malicious, but, it was an accident. And she was like, ow. And he's like, oh. And he gets so pissed off. He runs over to the car, opens the car door, and starts beating the crap out of the guy. And Jenny's like, what are you doing? Relax. It was a mistake.
But also has, no concept of sex. So it doesn't understand what's happening.
No.
He
it's
just thinks
this guy's attacking
this guy's
her.
on top of her,
Yeah.
and he's gonna hurt her.
But she did say ow. So I think also he heard that and was like, oh, he's hurting her, and he's trying to. And I'm like, yo, this guy will do anything for Jenny. That's his BFF, who, I mean, later on he says that he loves, and he's trying to protect her at any cost, and she just sees him as
that's his Achilles heel.
Well, yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is. So anyway. He ends up getting enrolled in the Army, and I kind of felt this guy really shouldn't be there. And you see, at graduation, literally he's standing there with his mom, and this recruit comes up to him hey, boy, you have any plans after graduation? And he's like, no. He's like, enroll in the Army. And I'm like, how would he even pass the IQ test to be there? And then it was was there even an IQ test?
Was there an IQ test to be in the Army? We just need you to get blown up. We don't need you to have IQ. We need you to go die.
And the thing about it is I almost felt like they would target people like him, because it's
yeah, 100%.
Because we know they were targeting us. They wanted black people out there. They were like, yeah, y'all can For the Vietnam War?
I mean, Bubba. I mean, he meets
So-
Bubba.
Exactly.
Bubba Blue, who is
And
the
if you-
exact type of person
Yes.
that you're talking about.
Yes.
A black kid who's poor, who's from the South, who doesn't. He's also kind of simple, and he doesn't really have any options, presumably outside of like, shrimp boating.
Shrimp boating, right.
So he's just kind of like, and he's from a family of servants essentially.
Yeah, he said
Who
his
have
mom
basically
his
cooks
mom
for
cooks.
white people their entire life. So yeah, he's the black version of Forrest essentially.
Yeah. Which is-
without the All American medal,
Well.
and presumably without the college degree.
No, that's true. That's true. But they made a very good pairing as best friends for that very reason, right? They both have this very simplistic way of looking at things. Forrest is worse off cognitively, for sure. But one thing I will say about Forrest is you tell him what to do and he will do it. He can follow directions like no one else, because he even said, like, people were saying, like, about the Army, he said it was very easy for him. Like, it's just yes sir, no sir. Like, going to the scene where they were like trying to assemble and deassemble the guns, like he was killing that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, I just follow these instructions. I do 1, 2, 3. I do this. It's perfect.
So one of the notes that I took as I was watching this movie, and half of my notes are honestly just taking note of everything that happened, because
I know,
there's
it's
so
so
many
much.
things. I was like, I gotta write this down because I'm gonna forget this. But I was taking the note that like Forrest is good at things because he doesn't have the capacity to overthink anything. So like football, he's good at because he just runs. Like he doesn't even really know
The
how the
plays
game works.
No.
They just give him the ball and he's fast. So he just runs and tries not to get hit. And then like the Army, he knows how to take orders because he doesn't, again, have the capacity to overthink
think for
about like,
himself.
what should I be doing? Or is what this person telling me is right or wrong? Or I have my own opinion. It's like, nah, I'm just going to follow directions.
Exactly.
And then even with ping pong, it's just like, I just have to hit
Hit
this
the ball.
It's like I can focus on one thing
Yes,
and
for
not
hours.
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm not gonna get distracted because I don't. Yeah, he basically couldn't overthink anything,
Yeah.
and that actually is what made him good at being in the Army.
That's fair. That's fair. So, like, there were some things that I noticed, like, when they were in Vietnam, the part where they were talking about, like, the war and the Lieutenant Dan.
That's another one. Check that one off. So we got the Vietnam War.
Lieutenant Dan's out there. And Lieutenant Dan, it was interesting because it was like, he was saying how basically he had a generation from his family in every single American war that had died. And so this was like his
Heritage.
This was his war, to fight and essentially die in. That was like his honor. And they would like have these different phrases that they would use that I just wasn't aware of. Like they're like for instance, he said something about like, oh, we were looking for this guy named Charlie. And I didn't get it because I was like, I don't know a lot about this war, so I had to look it up. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Basically, they were referring to the different communist forces and like basically the North Vietnamese, they were calling them Charlie. And then like, like cliques. Like I know it's a measure of distance, but I didn't know like how far it was. But it was interesting how they had him like, the one thing I really liked was when they were saying that it was raining for like 40 days and they're in like this very bushy area in Vietnam.
Yeah, they're in the Vietnamese jungle,
And
basically.
at one point he's like, oh, like then the sun came out and the rain just stops and everybody's looking up at the sun like, here comes the sun, and then all of a sudden like these gunshots just come out of nowhere.
Nah, that's crazy.
Like, and it just like the war hits and you're just like, oh my gosh, and people start getting like blown up and shots through the head, and like now he's in the war and we get to see Forrest Gump like during wartime.
And they're caught out, so now they're like basically trying to retreat
Yes.
because they're basically going to all die. Like they were completely caught off guard. It was
And
like a surprise attack.
Right. And this is where we see Forrest Gump saving the day.
Yeah,
And,
he's
he's a beast. So what I'm watching this, and so basically they tell him to run, like run. So he's like, run? I know how to run. He runs out so fast. He's the only guy out, and he's like, wait, Bubba, I love Bubba. So he runs back in to get Bubba, and on the way he's seeing fallen soldiers who are like, help. So he's carrying this guy on his back and running back out, and so we get his character is very fast, but in this moment I'm like, he's not just fast, he's strong as hell.
Yeah.
Because he's carrying dead weight, repeatedly. He's going in and out, in and out. He carried like what?
Nah, he saved like 6 people's lives.
It was insane. I was like, yo, Forrest, like.
Because after the ambush, then some planes fly over and basically like burn the entire jungle area.
Yes.
So anybody who he hadn't grabbed would have definitely died.
Over for them.
And he's only able to save like I said, like 6 people in the outfit. So the rest of their platoon is all
over.
dead.
It's over. So of course, Lieutenant Dan, we find out that he lost both of his legs, and he blames Forrest for basically making it out. He's like, "You should have left me there. I should have died with my men." Like
family heritage.
Like, why did you save me? You know? And
so let's pause here.
You want to talk about?
I have a question about this.
Okay.
Do you think Lieutenant Dan is mad that he's still alive, or do you think he's mad because he lost his legs and he's still alive?
Oh, I think it's the latter. But I think it's a mixture of both, to be honest. Like, yes, if he was like scot-free and had a scrape on his arm, he probably would have been like, "Oh man, I should," like, because there are definitely some I don't want to say the wrong technical term, whether it's general or colonel or what, but higher ups who like they feel responsible for their men, right?
Right.
So it's like the whole like no man left behind and wanting to make sure that they almost feel like what's it called? Like
sense of responsibility.
Yeah, but it's also survivor's guilt.
Remorse,
survivor's guilt, because it's like, okay, so I went to this war and I survived because you carried me out, but all these other men who I was responsible for didn't make it. So I think that is a big part of it. And of course, the second part is, bro, what now? Like, I was a lieutenant and now I can never go back and do this again. My legs are gone, and essentially like the depression's gonna hit. And you gotta think back then, like, depression is not a word you're using. You're not being diagnosed with that. You're not seeing a therapist or getting medication. So you're just wallowing in these feelings, which is why he turns to the bottle for quite a bit of time. And, you know, sex workers and everything else. Because it's like, bro, like, what am I supposed to do now? Which I get is like, the way you thought your life would turn out is not there. So it's almost like, I wish I would be dead rather than being in this state. So I think it's a mixture of both, for sure. The legs just make it a lot worse than if it was like, I survived and I'm able-bodied versus I survived and I have no legs. It's like, come on. This is not where I thought my life would be.
Yeah, I think the legs obviously makes it worse, but I did kind of get the sense that he would have been pissed regardless.
Yeah, for sure. But of course, like, Forrest doesn't really get it. He's like, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream! Like, like he's just like a kid, essentially.
Which makes Lieutenant Dan even more pissed off, because it's like, you don't even understand that I'm mad at you.
No.
Like, you don't even get it. Like, I'm trying to explain to you that this was like my fate. I was supposed to die in that jungle.
Yeah.
And you basically took that away from me. And he's just like, but they have ice cream. Like, being in the infirmary is actually kind of cool.
Right. He got shut in the buttocks.
Yeah.
And that's it. So it's like, as far as he's concerned, he's like, oh, the army was fine. Like, losing Bubba was trash, but, you know, it was cool.
Yeah, but then it's like, this
he
is the
doesn't
whole
get
thing.
it, yeah.
It's like, he doesn't have the capacity to, like, overthink anything. So then it's just like, whatever's in front of him that's really what his focus is.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the second time he goes to the White House, because now he gets a Medal of Honor.
Medal of Honor, man.
And now it's President Lyndon B. Johnson. And at this point, he basically, this is like around the time when he starts playing ping pong.
Yes.
And he goes to D.C. to get his Medal of Honor, is how he ends up running into Jenny for the second time.
Exactly.
We didn't talk about the first time. The first time was when he was in the army.
Still in the army.
And he basically like chased after Jenny to find her. He finds out that she basically gets kicked out of school for posing in Playboy. And she ends up working what he thinks a nice club to be able to play
sing.
music.
Yeah.
It ends up being a strip
strip
joint
club.
where she's basically just up there naked with a guitar. And she's like earnestly trying
to sing. And they're
sing
like,
these
boo.
beautiful songs. And they're like, all right, can you remove the guitar?
Like, show us your tits.
Yeah, like, come on, like, what are you doing here? So then that's the first time. And he like tries to save her again, like he always does. And she's like, yo.
Picks her up and takes her off
He's
the
like, yo,
stage.
you actually kind of have to like stop following me around. Like, let me cook. And she's just like trying to like live her journey. just doing whatever.
He's like,
at
"I
this
love you,
point.
Jenny." And
She's
she's
kind of like
"All right."
ruining her life a little bit, but Forrest is like the nice kid from back home who she just is like, yo, you're a nice guy, but like, let me do my thing.
Relax. Yeah. That kind of, so going to like before he sees her the second time, going back to that scene with Lieutenant Dan with the ice cream, for a second, again, I forgot a lot of this movie, but he's sitting there with licking his ice cream happily, and they're doing the mail call, and they're like, Gump, and he's like, oh, that's me, Forrest Gump. And I see like a stack of letters, and I'm like, damn, who wrote him? I'm like, he got mad mail.
Oh, yeah, well.
And then it was like, oh, they were all returned to sender. They were all letters he wrote to Jenny, because every day he was writing Jenny, and they all came back. And I was like, oh, nobody actually wrote him.
Yeah.
And so we know, like, yeah, Jenny's like outliving her best life. You know,
She's living a life.
her best life to her, like
I don't know that she's really having fun, to be honest. Not at this moment.
moments of fun.
I think so. Around the time when he gets the Medal of Honor is when she basically joins like this hippie collective, and she basically leaves Alabama.
Yeah, they're out in L.A., not L.A., San Francisco, I think she said.
Yeah, they go out to San Francisco,
Yeah.
so she's living out there, and then her and a bunch of her hippie friends take a bus to DC, to join this anti-war protest. And that's where he meets her, because he gets on stage with this collective of anti-war veterans.
He has no idea.
He doesn't even realize. He just happens to be standing there, and they're like,
Like,
oh, you're here for the thing. Get in
awesome.
line. And he's just like, okay.
Okay, cool.
So that's the second time he runs into her. And
She has that scumbag boyfriend.
she has a scumbag boyfriend. She takes Forrest to a secure location where they're hanging out with members of the Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
So that's another
I was like, okay.
aspect of the 60s that
Uh-huh.
they're throwing into this film. And they're giving you everything. Like, they're giving you everything, and they're letting Forrest cross paths with it all. And as he's hanging out with Jenny, he's like telling her how much he misses her and blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
And she's hanging out with this guy who's abusive. He smacks her, and Forrest loses it and just unloads on this guy.
Oh my gosh. Beat the
And
crap
she's
out
like,
of him.
oh, what the heck? So then they get kicked out of the Black Panther Party place. And then he's like, yo, like, this guy's trash.
He's
Like, you
trash.
should come back home to Alabama where you belong. And she's like, nah, actually, I'm going to stay with this guy. And he gives her his Medal of Honor that he just received from the president.
Ugh.
So this is like, yeah, like, and
But then
again, at this point, I'm like, damn, I feel so bad for this guy.
I know.
It feels like, despite the fact that she's constantly running away from him, he has not stopped running towards Jenny. And it seems like he doesn't realize the fact that she's trying to distance herself from him.
At all.
Yeah.
But then she says things to him like, I'll always be your girl. She says that to him. So it's like, bro, like you're like that was definitely giving me like
gaslighting?
No, what was that? What was that show? It was like Fred Savage, Ben Savage. Wonder Years with Winnie. How Winnie was like give take.
Yeah, Winnie sucks.
It was giving me that Winnie vibes a little bit, where it was like, come on,
It
like
was a little Winnie Cooper.
It was like, don't tell me I'll always be your girl, and then you run off with this guy who just punched you in your face, like.
Yeah, I feel like she was trying to like. I guess I felt like she
appease him a little bit.
Yeah, like I feel like she was trying to like tell him that like, no matter what happens, like I'm always gonna care about you.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, Forrest didn't really have anybody in his life outside of his mother. He connected with this one person who basically just talked his ear off about shrimp. It's unclear if Bubba even knows anything about Forrest, because he does all the talking.
Lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich. That's about it.
But he said he wanted to do the shrimp business with him. Bubba did say that. They wanted to do shrimp together.
Bubba said everything. That's my whole point. Like, Forrest never really talked. He was just like, oh, like he was the only person that would indulge Bubba, and Forrest was just like, I feel like the only people that were really engaging with Forrest were other outcasted people.
Yeah.
So whether that was Bubba, whether that was Jenny, who was going through all the stuff that she was going through.
Yeah.
It's like those were the people that connected with him, and everybody else just ignored him. Everybody else was basically like Lieutenant Dan, who was just like,
this guy.
bro, you don't, even when he was running and winning games at Alabama, they're like, this is a stupid ass dude.
Right,
but
he's
but
fast.
He sure is fast. Like, so it's like nobody's really giving him anything. And I feel like she recognized that he was basically a societal outcast and was like, I think she wanted him to know that even though I'm walking away, it's not your fault.
Okay.
That was kind of how I took it. I didn't take it as like I'm your one and only lady. It was like more so like I'm always here for you.
Yes,
and they never had a sexual relationship other than the time she let him touch her boob, and then he busts on her roommate's robe.
Yo, her roommate's face. She was like, they thought she was sleeping, but her back was to them, her eyes just popped open, like, and then he said, "Uh-oh, I think I like ruined your roommate's bathrobe or something." I was like, "Oh God."
Nah, that was one of my favorite quotes. I know we usually talk about favorite
that
quotes
was
at the
so
end,
funny.
but it was like, right, he's touching her boobs and his eyes get all big, and then he's like, you could see that he comes to fruition, and then he like removes his hand real quick, and then he looks at Jenny. He's like, I feel dizzy. And I would lost it. That was mad funny. He said he feels dizzy.
Nah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Great. That was the best.
That was a very funny scene. I definitely laughed out loud for that one. So going back to your point, like, yes, I understand that she was doing that to quote unquote make him feel better or appease him, but you have to remember that she knows she's talking to Forrest. He doesn't understand like layers. So it's like, if I tell you, yes, I'm your girl, like in his mind, like, oh, you're my girl.
Yeah.
Like, he's very simple. He's going to take you at your word. And that's why I didn't like it. Because it was like, you know who you're talking to. And you know he's going to take that and think it means something. But anyway, moving on. So he ends up playing ping pong. He went to China to play. And there's a part where he ends up being interviewed on like one of those like late night shows. Mm-hmm. And one of the guests, of course, is John Lennon. Mm-hmm. And they're having this conversation. And during the conversation, there's parts where like Lennon says like, no possession, no religion. It's easy if you try. And of course, those are lyrics to a John Lennon song. Mm. And then he's like, then sometime after this, like somebody shot that young man, you know? And so again, they're putting him in another one of these situations where it's like.
Same thing he said about JFK.
Yeah, exactly. So he talked about John Lennon. And then of course, there's another scene where he basically gets put up in a hotel. And while he's there.
Well, this is the third president that he meets the president because he received some award for basically being like a ping pong superstar, and he's still enrolled at this point. So he's playing for
the military.
Military, and it becomes like this like us versus the commies,
which is bizarre because it's like I'm in the army and I'm playing ping pong for a living. Like this is his job, is play ping pong in the army. And while
he gets to represent American greatness overseas. You know we love that.
Well, yeah, I do. So then he ends up, he's at a hotel, and then you see him calling the front desk, and he's like, I see some people like with some flashlights in a room over there, and he's like, I'm not quite sure what's going on. And he
said they're keeping me up. I'm trying to sleep.
They scan down to like some kind of letterhead or something in the hotel, and we see he's in the Watergate Hotel, and it's like, okay, another famous moment where they're putting him in there.
So Forrest Gump is the reason that Nixon lost the presidency.
Yes, duh. Forrest Gump is behind everything. He's behind Elvis. He's behind everything. And so we see that, and I'm like, okay, they're continuing to do this. We get it. And then while he's a ping pong champion, he goes home to visit his mom, and like there's all these different like companies who are coming through, and basically it's like, oh, we want him to like use our paddle or say it's the best paddle that he's ever used. And he's like, but I have my paddle. He has the same paddle that he's used from day one. It's kind of, falling apart a little bit, but it's his paddle. And then his mom basically is like, I mean, if you just say you like this paddle, like we get $25,000, which is bread. So he does it, and basically he ends up getting that money, and he uses that money to buy a shrimping boat, which of course he names Jenny. And then they kind of flash.
Speaking of which,
Yeah, they flash to Jenny and how she's living right now, and it's pretty bleak.
Yeah.
She's in, of course, an abusive relationship. Like, her eye looks like she gets
punched.
pummeled all the time. And there's a lot of drug use.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell. Like, at one point, she goes out onto the balcony of her hotel, and she's wearing these, pumps. And she stands up on the ledge, like, almost like dangling her feet to be like, oh, like, what if I fell over right now, So it's almost like...
She was going to jump, it looked like.
Yeah, it's like she's contemplating, like, suicide at this point. It's like, should I even still be here?
She's
like,
not
what am I...
in a good space.
Not at all. Not at all. And so it's like, we see, like, Gump is out here. So at first he buys a shrimping boat, and of course, at first he can't get any shrimp. He doesn't know what the heck he's doing.
Well, just to talk about Jenny for a second, like, I feel like the purpose of this movie, I don't know if this is necessarily a theme, but I feel like one of the big purposes is that you're kind of like creating an expose of the 60s and 70s. So it's, it's very much a period piece, but it's kind of, they're running through all the things that happened during that time and kind of giving you a reminder of like, oh, remember this, remember this, remember this. And I feel like the Jenny character is meant to represent like the dark side of the 60s. Like, whether that's like the abuse or whether that's the drug use, we see that she starts taking heroin. She becomes a hippie, which is not necessarily a dark side, but it's like representative of kind of like this other side, the outside
the
outside of the mainstream.
Yeah.
She's hanging out with the Black Panthers. Like she's doing these other things. And then, as I said, she ends up with HIV. So then it's also like all of the things that were happening from the 50s to the 80s. Her character is kind of showing you like, this is how some people's lives could have gone. They could have been doing this instead of just like going to college and getting a nice job. Like, there was also a bunch of other things happening at that time, and she's the one that kind of shows that side of that time period.
Yeah. It was hard to watch her character, honestly. Because this is one part where he basically, I think it might have been like New Year's, like he and Lieutenant Dan are out and they're, at a bar and they meet these ladies and they're having a party. And he says, like, he can't help but think about Jenny and how she's, living with her New Year's. And they basically do like a fast cut to her where the ball's about to drop. You can see she's just been punched in her face. She grabs a purse and she walks out and slams the door. And as she slams the door, they're counting down like 5, 4, 3. And it's like, she's not even enjoying like the ball dropping and the new year starting. It's like she's starting her new year being abused yet again.
So I had a different read on that scene.
Did you?
Because as he's in the bar with Lieutenant Dan, and Lieutenant Dan has these girls with him, and one of the girls says something like,
"Don't you just love New Year's? You can start all over. Everybody gets a second chance."
When they show Jenny, I feel like that's what she was doing. Like, she was kind of like walking out of that relationship. And like giving herself a chance to kind of start over. I don't know if the suicide attempt happens before or after that.
Yeah, I'm not quite
because
sure
she
either.
still does continue to like abuse drugs after this, but she does at least leave the abusive boyfriend. And you see like a ton of like drug paraphernalia in the room,
all over the place. Yeah.
You could kind of draw your conclusions.
Okay, that's an interesting take. That's very possible what they were trying to show. I just saw it as like, bruh, her life is in shambles right now. But yeah, maybe that's her start, at least of, I guess she's gonna just hurt herself by herself with the drugs without having someone punching her in her face. I don't know. But basically...
yeah, because after that, she like gets a job at a diner or something.
Well, the job at the diner wasn't until after...
Because she sees him on TV.
She saw him. Yeah, but remember she went home. She went home to see him. She went home and was like, I had nowhere else to go. And she ends up living with him for a little bit, and that's when they have sex.
Right. So then she saw him.
And then she leaves him in the middle of the night. And that
part,
she
saw him on TV with the running part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I'm like, but you're right. I think at that point, yeah, she she probably did leave that abusive boyfriend, and then she ends up later on going to see him. But it's like,
well, let's talk about that part because I mean, essentially, we can skip over some of this.
yeah,
Forrest starts a shrimping company. Lieutenant Dan comes.
they become
and
very
becomes
successful.
a skipper.
Yeah.
They basically end up making a ton of money because a hurricane knocks out every other shrimp boat in town. So they get all the shrimp.
After they prayed, after they went to that black church and
Well, he prayed
and sang in the choir
and Lieutenant Dan cursed at God.
and drank.
And he was like, "You can't kill me. You'll never knock over this boat."
Yo, him on top of that sail had me dying.
And and guess what?
It worked.
God didn't kill him, and God never took down the boat, and God made them rich. And so, and on top of that, Forrest basically like leaves to. This doesn't really make a ton of sense to me, but they said that like after that happened, and he got discharged from the army, but then he got like a government job, but then he was just like mowing fields.
Yes, basically they were like
So like the government gave him a job as a lawnmower.
yeah, that's what it seems like. He was like riding this lawnmower.
Yeah,
like,
it didn't make a ton of sense to me.
But well, I think because of his IQ, they were like, "What else can this man do?
Yeah,
he
that's
can mow
probably
lawns.
right. Yeah, that's what
Follow
makes sense.
instructions.
Yeah.
he can do it." So that's what they made him do. And actually, at that point was when I think he ends up getting the Apple stock.
Right, so that's what I was gonna say. So like he basically leaves Lieutenant Dan to run the shrimping business. They're already pretty well off, but then Lieutenant Dan decided to invest Forrest money in Apple, so they become like millionaires.
And you gotta think, that part really tickled me because this movie came out in 94, okay? So in our minds, they invested in the 80s, and now it's 94. So like thinking back to where Apple was in 94 and where Apple is now.
Yeah.
Like it's just funny to think about because like back then it was like, oh, Apple, we know Apple, but now it's like Apple. Like
Yeah.
if he had Apple stock from the 80s, bruh, talk about the kind of money he would have right now. It would be insane.
So after all that happens, he becomes a ping pong star. He's a football star before that. He gets a Medal of Honor. He has a successful business, and then he becomes even more rich.
Right.
He gives a bunch of money to the church that basically heard his prayers.
And Bubba's family.
He gives money to Bubba's family because he promised to split the business 50-50. And then he gives money to a hospital for soldiers. So then after all that,
now he's back home.
is when Jenny almost kills herself.
Right.
And then she comes home basically like, I'm a hot mess.
And this is what pisses me off.
Okay.
So she comes to the house basically because she has nowhere to go, which is like, thanks. And they stay for a bit and they're basically playing house, right? Like he's happy because he's like, oh, Jenny's here.
He says it's the happiest time of my life.
Basically, like they have their family. Like he's in the house. He still has that same helper that his mom used to have.
And his mom has died at this point.
Yeah, his mom had cancer.
Yeah.
And ends up passing away. And so they have this huge house to themselves. Like they put music on. Jenny teaches him how to dance. And then he basically says to her, like, he wants to marry her. Like, he loves her. He's like, I'll be a good husband. And she's like, I know you would be. And he's like, well, like, let's get married. Like, what are we doing? She doesn't really want to do all that. But then that night he's in bed and she sneaks out of her guest room and basically joins him in bed and then takes her top off. And we already know what's going to happen. They have sex.
But not just that. It's the fact that, like, he has the conversation earlier when he asked her to marry him. He says that he loves her, and she basically just, like, doesn't respond and just turns around and goes to bed. So he's like, damn, she rapped me. He goes to bed, and then she basically comes into his room. She tells him she loves him.
Oh, that's right. She did say that.
And then she seduces him.
That's right. She did. Yeah,
They have sex.
And then
he wakes up the next morning.
And she's gone.
And she basically took a cab and left.
And left the Medal of Honor.
No,
that pissed me off. Because I'm like, come on, bro. Like, you know what you're doing to him. You know this man has been pining over you.
So why do you think she did that? If y'all can see the face.
I'm making a face right now.
Y'all can see the face that Andreen just made.
It was a face of disgust, y'all. Because I really didn't like this part. Because, like, yes, we know that Jenny is broken. I get that. But like this man just poured his heart and soul out to you. You basically was like, yeah, I love you too. And then you just left him. And like, to be fair, like, well, at least we think she got her life together. Like now she has a job working as a waitress in a diner. She's no longer doing drugs. But it's like, why? Why would you do this to him and then just leave in the middle of the night? It wasn't even like she waited and was like, oh, I have to go. And like, you know, this was fine, but I got to find my own way. Like she didn't even say goodbye to this man. What if she had died after this and never saw him again? Like the whole thing was just, I didn't like it. I
didn't like it either. So I'll start there. And I'm not gonna like defend Jenny, but I definitely could see why she did it. I don't think it's the right thing to do, like I said, but I feel like when Jenny comes home, it's like I almost killed myself. And I think she recognizes that she can't be left to her own devices. So she comes home because it's like Forrest kind of represents a sense of safety for her. Mm-hmm. And she's playing house with him as a way of kind of like rehabilitating herself. But I feel like one of the reasons that she doesn't want to get too close to him is because she feels like basically like he's a good guy and I'm going to ruin him because I'm a hot mess.
Fair.
She eventually, I guess, like sleeps with him out of a sense of pity of like this guy doesn't have anybody else to love him. And I feel like she's also been abused as a child and I kind of got the sense that she uses sex as a way to connect with people.
Okay.
Not necessarily understanding the weight of the situation. And almost like I felt like she was like, I got the sense that she thought she was like doing him a favor. Like he's probably never had sex before. The one time he even touched a titty was the time I let him do it in college. And he doesn't have anybody here. And it was kind of like, I think that was her way of like connecting with him and showing him that she cared about him. Now, why does she leave the next morning? I feel like she sobers up to the fact that like she's still trash and feels like, yo, like I actually can't allow Forrest to like get this close to me because I'm going to ruin him.
Yeah.
So, and I think the way that they connected scared her. And I think that's what she was avoiding the whole time, which is why she keeps running away from this man. So then she basically does it again. She runs away from him again. But the whole time he doesn't understand what's happening. So like I said, it's still trash. What she did is still trash. But I feel like she did it out of a sense of like, I don't think I'm good enough and I'm going to ruin this man's life. So let me just get out of here.
I mean, I think just mentioning the running is kind of bringing me back to, I know we're not on themes yet, but whatever. Going back to like Forrest Gump and his braces before and like the theme of running. I was thinking more like, I was trying to think about like why they had his braces like break off. And I think it was showing that like running to basically overcome like your limitations. Because it was like, people told him he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. And because he was able to run, right, he could escape the bullies. He could be on the football team. He could save people.
Death.
And also save people in the military during the war. So like the running that he was doing, that he became famous by running later on in the film when he ends up running for like what, 3 months or something?
3 years.
3 years. 3 years, 2 months, and some odd days. He ends up running because it's like, this is just, I don't know. I think like it just, because of his mental incapacities, like the running was like the one thing he could do and do well. And so despite his cognitive limitations, his physical ability to run was able to help him, you know, achieve a lot more than he would have. So that's why I think the running was kind of a theme that they talked about a lot in this movie, or they showed a lot of in this movie.
That makes sense. So speaking of the running, right after Jenny leaves him and leaves the medal behind in his house is when he basically decides to go for a run. And just doesn't stop. And he ends up basically running for 3 years, and people are identifying all these different, they're putting their own reasons onto him as to why he's
running. Of course,
it's for world peace, it's for this, that, and the third. Why do you think he just runs for 3 years?
this is what he's good at. This is what he knows. And
yeah,
also,
but why do you think there's any connection to
with Jenny
like,
leaving?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So what? So then it's like Jenny left.
Jenny's
and then,
gone. What else do I have to do? Like, think about it. Like, he has all the money in the world that he needs. He doesn't need money. His mom's already gone. Bubba's gone. Like you said, he has no other connection. One person that I thought I was gonna like settle down with and marry left me. So like, I'm just gonna go for a run. And he said he just kept running. So
he had nowhere to go, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like just to escape what was going on. It's like, what am I gonna do? Sit in this house and go stir crazy? There's no TV. Like, well, there was TV.
Yeah.
But still, like, again, he's good at it. He can do it. And then, like, I actually really liked this part where he was running, where they had different people coming up to him with ideas. Like, he's running and he runs through, like, dog poop. And the guy's like, oh, you just ran through a bunch of, like, shit on the floor. And he's like, hey, like, shit happens. And he's like, oh. And this guy basically does, like, bumper stickers for cars. And so he, like, gets the idea of shit happens from Forrest. And then, of course, there's another guy who's, like, trying to sell T-shirts. And Forrest gets a bunch of mud on his face. And he wipes his face on a T-shirt, and they pull it away. It's a smiley face. It's like, oh, that guy made a lot of money making smiley faces. And so again, like they keep inserting him into these different areas. And it was just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that part. But it gets to the point where after a certain point, he's like, I'm tired. Like, I'm gonna stop running.
Yeah.
And he has all these followers behind him, and he just like turns around and like starts to walk back, and they're like, what do we do now? You know? And I'm just like, what were you doing before you met him? Like, hello?
I mean,
Like-
he was a cult leader.
Oh, absolutely.
He was a cult leader who, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, that is also kind of an aspect of the 70s and 80s. There were a lot of cults at that time.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is obviously that he has no motive. He's literally never asked anybody to follow him. But they're like,
Or to murder anybody.
What is this guy running for? And they're all just kind of putting their own interpretation on
of course.
it. And then saying like, oh, this guy's figured it out. Like, I'm going to run too. It's like, I never asked you to come with me.
Never once asked you.
But again, like it goes to show you how his simplicity is like basically creates his greatness.
Yeah.
Like everything that he does is because he didn't have the capacity to overthink it. And it's like, I'm just running because I felt like running. And they're like, yo, this guy's the genius. Like, he's the man.
And this is when, of course, Jenny sees him on the television and she's like, what? Like, he's on the news? Like, this guy, what's going on? And so eventually she writes him a letter and provides her address and says, like, come out and come see me. And this...
You know what's odd about this, too? I feel like Forrest is the founder now of a huge, like, restaurant business.
Mm-hmm.
And then he becomes famous for running. And, like, they don't connect the two?
Yeah, I was thinking that, too. Like, they don't realize this is the same guy from...
Like, they should have...
From Bubba
They
Shrimp.
knew his name, but, like, nobody said, like... This is the guy that owns Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. They're just like, oh, this man named Forrest Gump is running. It's like, that's the same guy. Like, the news should have connected those, but they never did for whatever reason. But anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But yeah, she sees him and she's like, oh, Forrest, come out, come see me. And so it kind of goes back to the movie, like the very last time we see him on the bench, he's talking to this older woman and he shows her the envelope with Jenny's address on it. He's like, yeah, I'm waiting for the bus to get there. And she's like, oh, you're only a few blocks away. You can actually walk there. And he's like, what? And she was like, yeah, go get your girl, whatever. And he's like, of course he gets up and he runs to go see Jenny. He gets to the house.
So this whole movie, he was 6 blocks from her house.
Yes.
And just sitting there for no reason.
For 2.5 hours.
Telling his entire life story.
Waiting for a bus that... First of all, where was his bus?
The bus never came,
Because
apparently.
he sat there for 2.5 hours waiting for his bus to come.
Yeah, mad people came and sat next
never
to him.
came.
Like, mad different people. And then, yeah,
The bus never came.
Or he was so busy telling his story that he missed it.
He missed the bus multiple times. But anyway, he ends up going to the house. He sees her. And as soon as he walks in and shortly thereafter, a woman knocks on the door and she's like, drops off this kid. And she's like, yeah, okay, You could tell it's the sitter. The sitter leaves. And then Jenny, of course, once we see the kid as the audience, we're like, this is this kid.
And this is why she invited him to come see her.
Yes.
To be like, oh, by the way.
But also, how old is this child? Another thing. So, like, on the one hand, I'm watching with my husband, and he's like, well, you got to think about it this way. Like, this man just been running for 3 years. So it's not like she could have just sent him something in the mail. But I'm also like, yeah, but everyone knew where he was. It like news anchors like were showing this guy running across the country, and I feel like the son was older than 3.
Yeah.
So it's like she could have sent him a letter when she got pregnant and been
Best, at youngest, he's 5.
right. So it's like by the time you got pregnant, you could have been like, oh, like we're having a baby.
But this is the whole thing. It's like I said, she spends the entire movie. We talk about the theme of running. Like she's running away from Forrest every time because she's like, he's too nice, he's too good, and I don't want to corrupt him. So I feel like she's really like
doing him a favor.
Yo, like I'm actually not even gonna tell this guy about this kid. I'm just gonna raise him, and then I guess seeing him on television, she starts to feel badly. But then I guess we know that mad time has passed. She hasn't seen him since the night she got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's reason to believe that she actually had no plans of telling him.
Right, which is trash. So then, of course, she tells him, like, this is Forrest. And he's like, oh, that's my name. And it's like, yeah, she's named after his daddy. Oh, his dad's name is Forrest, too?
Yeah. Jeez.
It's like, you're the father. And he's like, well.
How? How does that work?
But then he's like, is he smart? And I was like, oh. Because, of course, he knows he's not intelligent. And so I was like. And that it kind of goes to the part where, like, kind of flashing back here. There's this scene where he's New Year's night with Lieutenant Dan, and Lieutenant Dan has this girl like, sitting on his lap, and the other girl like tries to make a move on Forrest, and Forrest like jumps up and pushes her away, and it's like, what is he, stupid? And Lieutenant Dan gets pissed off and pushes her off, like, don't you dare call him dumb. And Forrest even says like he got upset because it's like, the one thing I can't change is being dumb, whereas like the one thing he can't change is not having legs. Mm-hmm. So it's like someone calling me dumb is like someone calling him, crippled. Yeah. And it's like he just couldn't stand. He couldn't.
Also,
stand
this man saved my life.
Right. So it's like, how dare you disrespect him? Yeah. So of course, like he knows that he's not the most intelligent. So he asks, like, is my son smart? And she's like, he's very smart. Like he's good. So at this point, again, he's like, let's get married. Like, let's be a family and go back home. And then she finally agrees. Of course, now she's dying. They get married. He has the son back home. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, Jenny is no longer.
So let's talk about this now.
Okay.
Because, all right, let's talk about this. Jenny invites him to the crib. He's 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Yo, this is your son. Also, by the way, I'm about to die. So, presumably,
the only reason she invited him there was because she was going to die. Exactly.
And, like, she probably wouldn't have told him. Otherwise, she would have just had this boy. And in the irony of ironies, he also would have been raised knowing nothing about his father. Which is exactly what happened to his father.
His father. He's on vacation.
Right. Like, oh, yeah, like, mom's just raising you. Like, don't worry about it. So she only tells him because she's like, I'm about to die and this kid's not going to have anybody. Which also, and maybe this is me being cynical, but I feel like why else did she change her mind about marrying Forrest?
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
On the one hand, okay, I'm going to marry this very rich man, and I know that, like, my son's going to be good. Care of,
exactly.
Which is not trash. Exactly. But at the same time, it's like, did you marry this man because you actually wanted to marry him?
Last resort.
And I think, depending on how you read the film, you could certainly see it that way. But I was a little cynical about, like, if she was actually marrying him because she wanted to, or if it was just, like, a protective measure for her son.
I felt the same way. I also felt like it was also, like, I'm about to die and, like, he'll be able to take care of me till the end. So it's like, I could sit here and
I'll have the best care as I die.
Because he
HIV.
loves me.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll sit here and, yes, and again, of course, my son will be taken care of, which, of course, is probably the top priority. But also, like, who's going to love me more than Forrest? Who else?
Do you think they had sex again?
No.
Think they just had sex the one time?
The one time.
Yeah. So, that's basically the end of the movie. Now Forrest has this son.
I have a question for you about
Jenny's
that.
dead, Bubba's dead, Mom's dead, but he has somebody, and I think the beauty of the ending is the fact that like he now has someone who can like love him unconditionally, the same way that really the only people who did are all gone,
dead.
and now he has like someone who's gonna love him for who he is and not judge him.
Question though.
Okay.
Seeing Forrest Gump as a father of a 5-year-old, do you think he has the capacity to do that well?
Certain aspects. I mean, he's not going to be a perfect father.
No
but he's
one is.
also like right on the cusp IQ wise. So he's intelligent enough to be like self-sufficient. Like I feel like aspects of fatherhood he'll do well, but he's not going to be able to like help him with his algebra
Or give
homework.
advice.
He's not going to be able to give advice either. Yeah, that's true. But he could certainly put him in spaces to get that from other people. And he has tons of money. So that
true,
should also
true.
buy him some resources. The movie begins with a feather that's floating around and lands in Forrest's lap. He puts it in his Curious George book. And then at the end of the film, it falls out and it starts blowing back into the space. Did you have any read on the feather?
Not really.
Okay. So I did.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah. So for me, I think the fluttering feather was supposed to represent like the random pathway of life. Like it's like a feather that's blowing in the wind, you don't know where it came from and you don't know where it's going. And the way that it moves seems completely random, but I feel like that's kind of how this movie plays out. It's like Forrest's life is just doing a bunch of random fluttering, but it all kind of goes where it's supposed to. And I feel like even like Lieutenant Dan had this whole idea in his mind about like what his life's destiny was, and he ends up being a very rich man with a wife. So like, you know, he thought his destiny was to die in the Vietnamese jungle. That's not what happened.
That's true.
But it's like your life's path is going to be random, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's just the way that things go. Even Jenny had a very random pathway in her life. They all basically did. And they ended in different ways. But I feel like that's kind of, that feather was kind of supposed to represent like just the random path that one takes.
Yeah. I mean, I think like overall, that's kind of one of the themes in the movie.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about, I mean, I have a lot of like interesting facts to talk about in this movie. How are we doing on time? I'm trying to think if I should.
Well, we're at like an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
Maybe I should start doing a little bit of those.
I did have one question before you get to that.
Yeah.
And this is about things that didn't age well.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about Jenny having sex with Forrest.
I told you I didn't like it.
And not just because she left
the
the
way
next
she
day.
did, the whole "I love you" really blew me. Like the whole like, it almost felt like emotional manipulation because it was like, I know how you feel about me, and let me just say this and do. And again, like you said, the pity sex or whatever is fine, but like that could have really messed with him mentally. To think that like I finally get to get Jenny, and then I wake up and she's like, he was all happy, and then she's just gone. That's crazy.
Yeah, I also was just wondering about the fact that like he didn't really. I mean, clearly he's an adult. He's not a child, but the fact that he doesn't really know what's going on.
You worried about consent?
Yeah, like it did feel a little creepy. Like this is this very sexually experienced woman, and like not to say that there's anything wrong with Forrest losing his virginity, but it didn't feel like they were really on the same page about what's happening. Like he's just kind of like laying in bed, and then she just like straddles him and starts taking his clothes off. And I was like, I don't know if I love this. Like this feels a little, it feels a little rapey.
A little rapey.
But I wanted to ask and see if, because that was really the only thing that I thought didn't age well, in addition to like her marrying him. But yeah, I was just like, was that weird or was it just me?
It was a little weird, but I also think like even before that, I think the college part was weird when like with the boobs, because like she like takes off her shirt and she's looking at him and he's kind of looking away because he's like, boobs, like what's happening?
Yeah.
And then she literally takes his hand and like grabs her breast with it, and then he's like, and then he jizzes all over himself. But it's like he never would have done that, and also it wasn't like, oh, Forrest, do this, and then he was like, oh, okay. It was like, here's your hand, grab my boob. Like it just felt very, very aggressive with someone, like you said, who has those cognitive delays. So I didn't like the college scene, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably that. But yeah, there were no bitches in this one. I
that's
listened
true.
out for them. They weren't there.
No Joe Fox in this one, so he plays a different character. Forrest is definitely not gonna call a woman a bitch.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Even when the kids were teasing him, I don't remember them saying anything like derogatory, like any words that were like, oh.
They didn't say any of the
big
bad words,
yeah.
but they called him like stupid or something like that.
Yeah, but you're right. There was nothing like glaring where I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they said that. This was a relatively cleanish movie, so wasn't a lot of that in there. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of just cool things that we found in regards to the movie. So, talking about the ambush scenes when he was in the military, in the army, and they were over in Vietnam. Apparently, a number of actual combat vets, particularly those from Vietnam, said that the scenes where like the bullets start coming out of nowhere was actually one of the most accurate combat scenes in movie history.
Damn.
They said because during the ambush in Vietnam, they actually never really saw their enemies because of like how high like the plants were. And also there's been like some talk about like the Vietnams actually had like tunnels where they like go under and pop up, they would shoot and go back down. So it's like, I don't know the terrain out here. So like Americans are just trying to hide for cover, and they're just basically like shooting in the direction of where the bullets were coming. And if you go back and watch the movie, we never actually really see them at all.
No,
we hear talking, we see the guns.
They save some time on casting.
But like they never actually see them. And the combat said, people from the combat basically was like, like it happens very quickly. You don't really see your enemy. And it's just like you hear the sound and you have to react. So I'm like, that's terrifying. So that was interesting.
Vietnam War was not good.
I mean, no.
Like, it was not good.
General consensus, it was not good. And then, of course, so the running scene where he's running all over the place, it's actually inspired by an actual event. In 1982, there was a man named Louis Michael Figueroa. He was age 16. He ran from New Jersey.
A boy, not even a man.
He ran from New Jersey to San Francisco for the American Cancer Society. And he unknowingly inspired a line for Forrest Gump's famous run. The line says, I just put one foot in front of the other. When I get tired, I sleep. When I get hungry, I eat. When I have to go to the bathroom, I go. He said that.
Oh.
And they used that in the film. 16.
Wow.
Running for a cause.
Wow.
So bravo to Louis Michael Figueroa.
I wonder what he's up to now.
I know, right? We should Google him. That's pretty amazing. So due to the success of Lieutenant Dan's character, Gary Sinise actually formed a foundation for injured war vets. This foundation raises up to $30 million per year.
That's dope.
It provides support to war vets, first responders, their families, and also those in need. Because his role was so big that he was like...
Yeah, I like Lieutenant Dan. It was a good character.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we all know that Bubba Gump is like a themed restaurant all over the place. You can get those anywhere. And then lastly, just kind of a small fact here. So there's a part where Tom Hanks visits Washington, D.C. after his tour in Vietnam. And they have this actor who plays a reporter on the scene. That actor was an actual tourist. It was some tourist from Atlanta, Georgia. And he happened to be on Capitol Hill that day with his wife, and he was asked to read the part, and he was like, okay.
Oh, that's
and he
dope.
got in the movie as a reporter.
Oh, that's fire.
I'm like, that must be fun to show to his kids and grandkids. Like, oh, I was on vacation up there in Capitol Hill and got into a movie.
A pretty big one, too.
Right.
and got to work with Tom Hanks. That's not bad.
Yeah, so that's all I got for facts.
So before we give our
Ratings.
rewind ratings, I wanted to talk really quickly about themes. I know you mentioned
The
whole running theme, and we talked about the feather and kind of how that represents your pathway in life. And I feel like that was something that they really were hammering home, specifically with the Lieutenant Dan character, of like this idea of destiny is not something that you can necessarily determine. Like, everyone has a destiny, but your path will be unpredictable. I also feel like one of the big themes is this concept of like, don't underestimate anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's, being underestimated his entire life. But also, like, I feel like this movie is essentially like an expose of the 60s and 70s and 80s. But it's like told from the perspective of someone who was actually too simple to understand what he lived through.
Yeah.
So like he basically lived through like these huge American events, but it was just like, oh yeah, like this thing happened, but it didn't really matter to him, or it didn't make any difference. And I feel like in the course of his life, he was able to like not only be near greatness, but create and achieve greatness himself. And so I feel like that's also one of the themes, is like your greatness can come in unusual ways. Like, it was never anything that he was like trying to do. The only thing that he actively tried to do that worked was the shrimping.
The boat, yeah.
Everything else kind of just fell in his lap, whether it was ping pong, whether it was football, whether it was the Medal of Honor. Like, they weren't, even the apple, like, he didn't even do that. Lieutenant Dan did that for him.
True. That's
so it's
true.
like things, great things can happen, and it might not necessarily always be in the way that you expect it.
That's good. I have a thought.
Okay.
So this is not a theme. This is just a general thought. The very famous line, "Life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get," is completely false. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
If you buy a box of chocolate,
yeah,
on the back of the box, it'll tell you what you're going to get.
Huh.
It'll tell you if it's a caramel, if there's a nut, if there's a cherry, and it'll show you the shape of the chocolate. So it's like, bro, you know what you're going to get. Like, just look at the back of the box.
Well,
and then you pick out what kind of chocolate you want.
I think, number one, Forrest definitely was not looking at the back of the box, and presumably neither was his mother. And I also feel like most people just open it and be like,
No, I always turn it over.
No.
I always turn it over.
People don't turn it over,
You don't turn it
bro.
over? Do you turn it over?
I don't really buy boxes of chocolate that often.
Okay.
But I feel like I don't.
box.
Like, I feel like you open it, and then you look, and then you be like, which one do I want?
Oh, no.
And then you pick one based on how it looks. And you'd be like, I don't want the one with the nuts. That looks like it might have some strawberry filling. Let me. And then you like
You
look at
can't
it.
tell if it's going to have strawberry filling.
Nah, they'll put like the red icing on it. They try to.
Sometimes they don't.
And then that's when you be like, damn, I got this one.
I don't like coconut. I don't like coconut in my chocolate.
Yeah,
so I'm going to try to avoid.
Yeah, they put the little coconut sprinkles on top so you know.
No.
If you don't know, then you just guess.
No.
You don't guess.
I turn the box over.
Everybody guesses, bro.
Listeners, let us know if you turn the box over and you look at the chocolate, or if you just pop a chocolate in your mouth and hope.
They don't. They guess.
And hope for the best.
I already know. The listeners are going to tell me. The listeners are going to tell me.
Listeners, let us know if you just pop a chocolate into your mouth. Oh, willy-nilly.
You examine.
willy-nilly.
And you take a calculated guess.
Or do you turn the box over?
Calculated risk, baby.
Hold it up over
Just
your
like
head
life.
and just period it. And then decide which one you want to eat.
Life is like a box of chocolates. You take a calculated risk and you make a choice and you hope for the best.
No. You pick what you want and you discard the rest. That's what you do.
That's not how my life has worked out, but I'm very happy for you. All right. Let's do our rewatch ratings.
All right. I think I went first last week. I don't know. Who knows? I'll just go. This movie was actually a pleasant rewatch for me. I haven't seen since I was a kid, like I said before, so a lot of it I either didn't remember or went over my head. And it was really nice to see like his character just like superimposed into like these black and white moments of history, and Forrest just looking at the camera like all confused, like what's going on here. It was funny. but not in a like overtly like comedic way. You kind of had to like pay attention to catch the things. But I really enjoyed that. It was very smart. And you wanted to know where it was going. I wanted to see every part of his life, to see, you know, what he experienced next. I really enjoyed it. And this is a little bit on the longer side for me.
It's 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And I watched it straight through without a break.
What's the ideal movie length?
We've done this before. I said an hour and a half.
Okay. Well, it's an hour past that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so for me, it's, you know, like speaking of long, like I'm currently in the process of watching Killers of the Flower Moon.
I'm currently in the process.
Yes. So far it's been two seatings.
Not done yet.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I have about an hour left.
Oh.
So,
okay.
But I'm into the story. Like, it's a good story, but
yeah.
it's just like, it's long.
It is.
So, but I watched this in one sitting. So that's saying a lot. I was invested. I was into
this movie's
it.
a lot faster than that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I pressed pause on Kills of the Flower Moon to be like, oh, I probably have like 20 minutes left, and it said 58 minutes, and I was like, oh heck no, I had to hit stop because I was like, there's no way I can sit another hour and watch this. It's good, but it's just
good. Yeah.
This is it's taking a while. So I had no problem with this one. I really enjoyed it. If it's on again, will I stop? Yes. If I see this on, I will stop. I'll watch till a commercial break perhaps to see what's going on. I'm gonna give it a 4. High rewatchability, a lot of fun. It's giving you like the history of America.
Yeah.
And it's showing, like you said, different perspectives through Jenny's eyes and then also through Forrest's eyes. And it's just very entertaining. It didn't really feel like 2.5 hours, honestly. But again, it's just a 5 for me is just very hard because there are very few movies that I just like, if it's on, I'm going to sit and watch the whole thing. I'm not going to sit and watch this whole thing every time I see it, but I'll peruse. I'll stay on for a couple of minutes and watch it. So I'm going to give it a solid 4.
Yeah, I actually was going to give it a 4 as well. And I mean, you said a lot of my reasons. I feel like it's a good movie that's entertaining, but I think in terms of like, is it a movie I'm going to watch over and over again? Probably not a 5 in that regard. Number 1, due to the length. And number 2, I feel like the themes of the film are fairly simple. Like, I feel like the movies that are the most rewatchable are either comedies that are very funny, or if it's a drama, like something where I can like extract a lot from the characters and from the plot and from the themes. This isn't really one of those movies, but I feel like the pure entertainment value alone gets it a 4 because you're just seeing a lot of, like you said, aspects of like American history being played out. And Forrest is a likable character. And like, yeah, you get to see kind of his life, Jenny's life, and then, you know, my man, Lieutenant Dan, and kind of seeing his character arc.
Dan's my man.
Was actually, Dan. Like, his character arc is the most interesting one of the movie for me. So, yeah, I think 4 is right.
All right. Any final thoughts on this film?
I mean, I think it's appropriate that it was a long-ass movie because this is probably our longest episode so far. So,
to wrap it up.
It was a lot to talk about, but we are done. And, yeah.
Listeners, the chocolates, let us know. Let us know.
Yeah, let's hear what they say.
All right, later.